Let's get ourselves moving, feet underneath the hips and allowing the toes to point forwards. And if you feel comfortable enough to, just allow the eyes to close. And allow the breath to come and go nice and gently. Breathe nice and gently. Allow that breath to fill wide into the rib cage, wide into the lungs. Feeling as though you can really direct that breath down into the pelvis. Allow yourself to release into your hip sockets, allowing the tailbone to gently descend down towards the space between the heels. And then we'll gently allow ourselves to take some weight over the front of our feet. And we'll take some weight into the back of the feet. Those two extremes. Finding that place where the weight's right in the centre of the 2 feet. A little bit of softness into the knees. Awareness into your pelvis, just gently tipping the pelvis forwards, gently tipping the pelvis back, finding that place where our bucket of water is nice and level, so you're not tipping out of the front or out of the back. You've got that sense that the tailbone's descending and the head is going to float up towards the space above you, so you've got that lovely sense of length from the tailbone to the top of the head. And as we find that length, we may be able to find that sense of lift through the pelvic floor muscles and that drawing in through the abdomen. So if you didn't automatically feel that sense of connection, let's register into that connection now. Let's think about pelvic floor lifting, drawing gently up. Drawing the abdomen in, just from hip bone to hip bone, drawing gently in. And then as we breathe nice and deeply, let's allow the shoulders to lift. And then we'll roll the shoulders gently back and down. And again, the shoulders lift. And we roll back and down. Taking 2 more like that. Last one. Shoulders ease towards one another and sink down towards the tailbone. Take a deep breath, let the right arm float forwards and up. Breathing in as the arm floats back down, we'll change over to the other side. Lifting the arm forwards and up. Breathing in as the arm floats back down. Lovely. Changing sides each time. There she is. Yeah, I thought so.
Right, let's try here.
Finishing off there, allow both the arms to rest down by your side. And as you do, take a little breath and allow the right ear to dip down towards the right shoulder. Nice deep breath, head lifts up and over to the opposite side. And again, the head lifts up and over to the right side. And again, up and over to the second side. And then bringing the head into the centre, just allow the head to gently rotate round to the right side. And then bring the head back to the centre and rotate round to the second side. Keep that going for me, gently rotating the head. Bring the head into the centre, just tuck the chin in slightly. Let the head become heavy and we'll start to gently roll down through the spine, coming down through the vertebrae bit by bit, piece by piece. So you're going to try and do the class later. Hi Adam, welcome to the class. Nice deep breath at the top, take a deep breath in and breathing out as we release through the top of the head, rolling gently down through the spine. Nice deep breath there, and breathing out as we roll When we get to the top this time, let's roll the shoulders back and down, let the arms float forwards and up. Breathing in as the arms float back down. And again, releasing through the top of the head, rolling down through the spine. Nice deep breath at the bottom. Breathing out as we roll back up through the spine. Lifting the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down and allow both arms to float forwards and up. Breathing in as we float back down, lovely. Hold it for me there. Just take a knee bend and let the arms open out to the side. So the knees are nice and soft. Lovely. Let's do that a few more times. Just taking that little plie. So as we bend the knees, we're going to keep the spine nice and long. So just as we talked about earlier, the head floating upwards, the tail descending down. We'll keep that sense as we bend the knees and as we lengthen them. Just one more there. And then without locking the knees, just with that sense of softness through the knees, we'll take our side extensions up and over to the right side. And then coming through the centre, up and over to the second side. Good. And again, now if you want to add the top arm in, do. Notice for me that it might create a little twinge in the back if you know there's issues there. So some people find that that's just adding the arm creates too much of a lean, in which case just leave the arms out and leave them by your side. Good. And finishing off there, let's draw the fingertips in towards one another, just in front of the breastbone. Thumb comes into line with the breastbone, eyes focus on the fingertips, take a deep breath, connect into those core muscles and let the rib cage gently rotate round. Breathing in as we return back to the centre and then rotating round to the opposite side. Lovely. So we're keeping the pelvis nice and still and allowing the head to stay floating on top of the rib cage so the nose stays in line with the fingertips. And when we get there, finishing off on the left side and allow both the hands to come in front of you. Let the shoulders roll back and down, squeezing in through the tummy, elbows stay nice and tight. Let the arms open out, shoulders glide down and together, and then drawing the fingertips in. Good, keep that going for me. Lovely. Now we've got something balanced on our hand. Let's allow ourselves to keep that balanced, and we're going to allow the right arm to circle around and above the head. And circling around. Changing over to the other side. Yeah, I think there's a lot of internet problems today. Lots of people are switching out and in, and a lot of people on Facebook are telling me there's internet problems. They're struggling to get on.
Those thunderstorms, they're probably elsewhere now.
Yeah, could be. Last one on each side. And let's push those hands away from us, pushing through the heel of the hand, shoulders gliding down the back, taking 3 little circles. 3, 2, 1, change in direction. 3, 2, drop the shoulders down. 1, let's do that again. Keep the shoulders gliding down. 3, 2, 1, change direction. 3, 2, 1. Lovely. Releasing the arms down. Give them a little shake out. Good. Let's take a deep breath and we'll allow the eyes to open if they're not already. Allowing the right foot to gently lift away from the floor. And then floating that foot back down. and we'll change over to the other side. And floating back down, lovely. So we're going to try a little bit of a quirky one out in a minute. So we'll start off by taking those little knee openers. Hips stay nice and still, and the knee opens out to the side. And then we draw the leg back in and float the foot down, changing over to the other side. We lift, knee opens out to the side, drawing the knee back in and floating that leg down. Good. This time we're going to add on a little sort of ping across the body. I can't think what it can be called. So we just tap the toe down just across us and then come back up and then place it back down to the first place. So let's do that again. We'll take the knee opener first. Knee opens, and then it's a little ping down. Pring, I don't know what that was. And coming up. It was sort of a ping and a poke at the same time. Lift up, and knee opens out. Good, bringing that leg across. And floating down, lovely. Hips are going to stay nice and still all the way through. Now here's what I'm thinking. This time we're going to allow the leg to stay across us, so we're going to plant it down when we bring it across us. So this time just place that foot down so your legs are kind of crossed. Try not to lock into the knee, so just soften the knee a little for me. Take a breath. We're going to take the right arm up and over. Now, as you do, reach up high and then over. So we're not particularly pushing into our side, but we're thinking about going up and out and away. This bottom arm is going to reach down towards the floor. Squeeze nice and deeply for me, and then lifting up and over to the opposite side. And again, as you lift up and over, the bottom hand reaches down. Good. And coming into the centre. Now, have a play with this one. Roll down through the spine for me here. So you're keeping the legs as they are. It's going to create a little bit of a wobble. So really connecting into those core muscles. We'll allow ourselves to release over. If we find the floor, it's a marvellous thing, but we might not. We've got a sense of lengthening through the backs of the legs, a good sense of connection through the core. We're trying not to lock into the backs of the legs, but some of us will feel a really nice sense of length across the outside of the leg. Nice deep breath there, and rolling up through the spine. Nice one. And allowing that leg to lift. And floating down. Good, let's do the same on the other side. So we'll lift the leg. Again, keeping that thought of lifting out of the waist. Knee opens out to the side. Coming back into the centre. Push that foot down, and then you've got that crossed leg. You're scooping in, lifting up nice and tall. Let's come up and over with the left arm. And coming up and over with the opposite arm. That's it. And I see you. Can you see me? Yeah. And then, good. Rolling down through the spine. And we'll allow ourselves to release gently over the legs. So again, just check for me. You're not going to lock into the knee, but you've got a sense of softness into the knees. Seeing if we can allow ourselves to be really nice and released through the upper back. Let the head be heavy. Oh, and hopefully we're lengthening across the backs of the legs and the outsides of the legs. Get a little stretch also. Connecting in through the tummy. Let's come on up. Let the head be the last thing to come on top. Nice one. Bringing the feet just hip distance apart. Nice deep breath. Let's take a little rise from there. So the heels gently lift and then they float back down. And again, the heels gently lift and float back down. Good, taking that twice more. And last one, pushing into the big toe. Excellent. Let's take a little roll down through the spine. We'll bring ourselves onto hands and knees. So we'll take a nice deep breath in. As we breathe out, let's release through the top of the head, rolling gently down through the spine, softening through the knees, and we'll allow the hands to walk out. Bringing those hands underneath our shoulders and the knees underneath the hips. Lovely. Taking a nice deep breath there, we'll push the back up into the sky, let the head drop between the arms, tailbone points down. And then from there we'll lengthen the head and the tail away from one another. And again we push the back up into the sky. Head drops between the arms, tailbone points down. And we lengthen the head and the tail away from one another. Good, keep that going for me. Pushing the back all the way up into the sky. And then lengthening the head and the tail away from one another. Beautiful, good. As we lengthen and extend away, be sure to keep that connection through the core. So the tailbone stretches in one direction, head in the other. If you want to give yourself a little bit of an upper body stretch, that's all good. Making sure there's no collapse in the lower back though, as you do that. Good. Take a nice deep breath for me there. As you breathe out, we're going to glide the right leg away, sliding the leg out and away. Breathing in as we draw the leg back in. And then slide the opposite leg away. I really ought to make sure my mum's linked into every class. Sliding the leg away. Hopefully she's moving to Western soon, so I could make my Pilates classes compulsory. Allowing the legs to slide gently away, shoulders gliding down the back, head extends out and away. So as the leg glides away, we can allow the opposite arm to lengthen. Breathing in as the arm and the leg return. Changing over to the other side. The only trouble is I've had my mum in my class before and she started to tell me off at times. So that started to become a little bit awkward.
Put a mask on her.
Yeah, that'll do it, yeah. One more on each side and then we'll come into that thread in the needle. Taking a breath, allowing the hand to lift, and then we'll thread the arm through the gap between the hand and the knee. And then come on back. Changing over to the opposite side. Weaving that hand through. Lovely. And if you want to add that little opening up at the beginning, opening the arm for the sky, and then threading the arm through. Breathing in as the arm returns. And if you want to, you can add that to your swimming exercise, which we've just done. So we'll allow the arm and the leg to extend away. And then as the knee comes in, you can lift the arm up and then draw the arm through. If you want to, you can keep the leg lifted. So we'll stretch the arm and the leg away. Opening the arm for the sky. And then keeping that leg lifted as you thread the arm through. I think this room would be big enough that I wouldn't be bashing things, wouldn't you? But no. Let's do one more on each side. Lovely. And when you've finished off on each side, just allow yourself to sit back onto your heels. Let the knees go wide and allow yourself to stretch gently forwards. Good. From there, we'll draw the hands just underneath our shoulders. We're going to bring the knees back in, tuck the toes under, and allow yourself to lift to an upside down V shape. And just have a little shift from side to side, from one foot to the other, releasing one heel and pushing down into the other. And maybe feeling a little shift from one hand to the other. And then take a deep breath for me and bring your weight forwards. We're going to bring our hands slightly further forwards so we've got a long line from head to heel. Now, this is our full-on plank. So we've got variations on this. So let's first of all make a long line from heel to shoulder. Once we get there, if we're starting to shake, we lower the knees. But from that position, we've got knees to hips to shoulders, a nice long line. Watch out for the bottom being lifted. We want the bottom to be in line with the rest of the torso. One more breath, and if you're feeling it, we can come down onto our elbows, because I know some of us have had way enough on our wrists now. Shoulders gliding down the back. From there, if you feel ready to, tuck the toes under once again, push into the heels, lengthening through the arms. One more breath, knees lower, and we'll allow ourselves to lower all the way down to the floor. Good. Let's allow ourselves to come to a lying position on our fronts. We'll let the elbows go wide, we'll let the fingers point forwards, and allow the nose to be hovering just an inch or so away from the floor. Good. We're squeezing in through the tummy when we get there. Take a deep breath, and as the shoulders glide down the back, we're going to allow the upper body to just lift a little away from the floor, breathing in as we float back down. And again, shoulders gliding down, breastbone gently lifts, breathing in as we float back down. Good, keep that going for me. Now, as you do that, just check that you're not sort of hinging and pinching in the lower back. We want to see if we can get a sense of the tailbone really descending away from us, strengthening up through those core muscles, shoulders gliding down the back as the head extends out and away, breathing in as we float back down. Just taking two more like that. Lovely. Now, from there, I want to just have a little moment to see if we can stretch out through our quadriceps from here. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people, it's just too tight in this position. So, we'll have a little play. Push your right hand underneath your forehead. Let your left foot ping up towards your bottom and see if you can grab hold of it. You kind of got to do it quite quickly, otherwise the hamstring starts to cramp. If you find that you can't grab hold of it, come onto your side and then bring it in and find it that way. If you bend through the bottom knee as well, you can stabilise a little bit better. And then if you want to from there, you can roll back onto your front. So we'll just take a moment to breathe once we're there. We'll allow both the knees to come together. We'll allow the bottom to be, the foot to be coming close to the bottom. We'll allow the knee to start to really press away from us. And you're pushing your pelvis into the floor, pushing your hip into the floor, so you get a nice sense of stretch across the front of the hip flexor as well as the quad. And releasing there, let's change over to the other side. Grabbing hold of that foot. Let the knee press away. Foot comes in nice and close to the bottom. And again, if you need to roll onto your side to grab that, that's fine. If you find in this position you need a little band to wrap round. Oh, you're there, you're there, you're there. Yeah, that's it, lovely. One more breath. And releasing from there. Let's allow ourselves to come up to a seated position, to come to face me. So from there we're going to allow ourselves to weight to come back a little, and we'll let the fingers point, well in fact I'm pointing my fingers forwards, but you don't actually have to. That's the place that feels comfortable for me. We've got the feet just wider than the hips, and we'll allow the knees to take a little drop from side to side. Good. And that should feel quite nice through the hip, through the back maybe. Maybe even across the shoulder. And then we'll allow the knees to tip over to the right side, and then we're going to see if we can come up really tall from there. Lovely. So we're lifting nice and tall, and we're pointing towards the left side of our room. And we're just going to allow our hands to come on down, and we're going to ease ourselves over that front leg. So some of us sitting in this position will find that there's a lot going on around the butt. It might start to almost cramp, which you want to just jump up and give it a good wriggle if it does. We're going to see if we can allow ourselves to ease into that stretch. Now this back leg, you may want to stretch it back behind you. And if you stretch it back behind you, just take a moment to see if you can square that hip off. So you rotate it back forwards, rotate it around so that you're squaring that pelvis off to the side of the room. And then again, you can ease yourself gently down from there. One more breath, come on up. Walking the hands up. Now, stay as you are. This back leg is going to swing around and just hook over the front of that front knee. So just around the front knee. See if you can get this buttock that's closest to me down on the ground. That would be a marvellous thing. If it doesn't go down on the ground, you can always stretch the front leg out in front of you, and that will release it a little bit. Yeah? Lifting nice and tall. Give that leg a little hug with your opposite arm, and then we'll gently spiral and look over our shoulder. Lovely. And releasing there. Allow the eyes to release back to the front. And then if you can, if you've got that foot bent in, or if you haven't, bend it back in for me, and then bring that leg around, come to the front and find a cross-legged position. Hopefully with that leg that you've just had bent up will be in front. It might even have got left behind and be on top of your knee. If it is, making sure you flex this foot. This top foot's going to stay really well flexed. And we're getting a really good stretch in the buttock. Yeah? Nice and deep with the breath, and we'll allow ourselves to ease gently forwards. Now you don't need to lift the foot up over on top of the knee. If it's lifting up over the top of the knee, marvellous. If once you get the foot on top of the knee's kind of by your ear, I would suggest it's probably not giving you as much of a stretch as the cross-legged position would do, so it might be better to be in the cross-legged. Nice and deep with the breath. Let's see if we can ease into that. And then lifting nice and tall. We're going to allow the feet to come onto the floor once again and take that little rock from side to side. So let the knees rock gently over. That's it. Beautiful. Now we're going to allow ourselves to come up and over onto the other side. So making sure you're working on the other side to the way you were before. I'm now pointing to the other wall. which I'm guessing you'll be doing too. Lifting nice and tall, and from there, if you can, allow yourself to ease gently forwards. If it's enough for you to be lifted upright, that's fine. And I appreciate that some of us get into this upright position and are having to hold on to the ground quite a lot to keep ourselves just sitting upright, keep ourselves from falling over, and that's fine if that's where you are. You'll probably be feeling a lot going on in this hip area, and that's all marvellous. If you're releasing down, it's a marvellous thing. Beautiful. Take a breath. If you feel you want to take that back leg long, do. We'll just take a few more breaths here. So we'll square the hips off if we're lengthening the back leg behind us. But don't feel that you're in any sort of rush to take any of the options. Just work into the one that works for you. And then lifting up tall, and just as we did before, this back leg's going to swing all the way around and loop over that front leg. Now that might mean that the front leg needs to straighten to get the right buttock down. And it might not be your right buttock if you did it on the other side last time. Give it a hug, lift up nice and tall, and then looking over your shoulder. That's it, nice, good. That looks great. And as we do, we're getting a sense of being lengthened even taller. So the tailbone is descending down. Both hips are trying to be really grounded. We're lifting up and then finding that rotation. Lovely. Eyes return back to your front, your front. And then bend that knee back in for me. Bring the leg around, and it might be a cross-legged position. It might be more of a half lotus position. We're lifting nice and tall, and we'll allow ourselves to ease gently forwards. And then lifting nice and tall from there. Let's allow ourselves to come to the front of the mat. So you've got the length of the mat behind you, so that you've got plenty of room behind you, because we will be coming to the floor that way. So we've got the feet just as wide as our hips, and we're lengthening really tall. We'll start off by let's take 3 mobilizers for the pelvis. So we'll lengthen nice and tall, hands come around the backs of the thighs, nice connection through the core muscles, tip the tailbone under, curving into the lower back. And we'll lengthen up nice and tall. And then again, tipping the tailbone under, curving into the lower back. And we'll lengthen up nice and tall. Let's keep that going, curving into the lower back. Lengthening up nice and tall. So we can start to make that a bit bigger. And making it more about the spine, making it a larger movement, which will challenge our core muscles even more. If you know that pelvis really struggles to move, then just the pelvic tilts here are brilliant. If you find that when you start to really get into this movement, there's a lot of tightness in that front of the hip, let's allow ourselves to let the feet go together and the knees go wide. Or you could just have a little explore of changing it around and go for the knee wide option and see how it feels. It might feel more challenging now that the hip flexors aren't helping as much. Floating down. Let's see if we can allow that next one to take us all the way down to the floor. So it might be with the feet on the floor, it might be with the feet together, but we'll come all the way down, and when we get there, we'll release into the floor. Good. So allowing those legs to come back onto the floor feet come back onto the floor for me. So the feet come onto the floor and the knees are bent. We'll allow the pelvis to rest on down, And let's allow ourselves to take a moment to just roll the head gently from side to side. And then we'll bring the head into the centre, tucking the chin in slightly. Now, I'm thinking we'll carry on with that spine mobility focus. So we'll come into our shoulder bridge from here. So we've got our hips and pubic bone roughly level with one another. Let's allow ourselves to work through the shoulder bridge. So we'll push the lower back into the floor, tip the tailbone up, peel the spine away from the ground, coming up bit by bit, piece by piece. And we move until knees, hips and shoulders come into line with one another. We take a breath there. And then as we breathe out, we're floating back down. Good, keep that going for me. Now it might be that for you, a little pelvic tilt is enough to really get the spine moving and you want to focus in on the lower back, that's great. If you're coming all the way up to the top of the shoulder bridge, let's add the arms in this time. And that will challenge us. If we lengthen the arms up towards the sky or if we bring them over the head, we'll leave them there as we replace the vertebrae back down. You may find it harder to get that articulation through each and every vertebrae. And as we bring ourselves back to neutral, we'll bring the arms back by our side. Let's take a little abdominal curl up, as long as there's no rectus abdominis issues that you need to bear in mind. Now, if you feel you want to, when we get to the top of the shoulder bridge this time, we're going to add in some little leg lifts to challenge those bottom muscles. So, let's allow the right leg to lift away from the floor. Maybe it's just the foot. And then floating the foot back down, we change over to the other side. And floating gently down. And allowing those arms to lift up towards the sky or all the way over the head. And then we'll float the vertebrae back down one by one. Press the lower back into the floor, pelvis comes down, and then we return the arms back by our side and maybe add that little abdominal curl up in. Breathing in as we float back down. So, if you want to, this time, as you get to the top of the shoulder bridge, we'll allow the right leg to extend up towards the sky. And then we'll float that foot back down and we'll change over to the other side. And floating that foot back down. And then we'll allow the arms to lift up towards the sky all the way over the head. And then we're floating the vertebrae back down one by one. Keep that going for me. Adding that little abdominal curl up in. Now, if you find that you get any little twinges in the back as you take that shoulder bridge, I want you to make it a smaller shoulder bridge. If you find that when you start to lift the feet, there's a twinge in the back, I don't want you to lift the feet. I want you to get to the top, and then we'll just see about doing some little bottom lifts. So we'll think about squeezing the bottom and taking maybe 3 pulses up instead of the leg lifts, because if it's twinging in the back, it tells you that something's not happy, and we don't want to push forwards with that. Okay, so as we bring the arms, as we're thinking about bringing the arms back down by our sides, on this next one, just allow the arms to circle up towards, reach up towards the sky, and then we'll take a little arm circle in one direction, shoulders sink down into the ground, and then we'll circle back in the other direction before you bring the arms all the way back down by the side and take that abdominal curl up. I'm going to talk you through that again, and I'll add it to the shoulder bridge. So we'll press the lower back into the floor, we'll curl the spine up and away. And then you've got your leg lifts or your bottom pulses. I really ought to call them something else. Lovely. From there we'll find that place where the arms give us a challenge for mobility through the spine. As we return back to neutral, Shoulders are sinking down, we circle the arms as if we're drawing a circle on the ceiling. Shoulders sink down, it's just one circle, and then we circle back in the opposite direction. And the arms come back by our side, and we gently curl up, and then float back down. Let's do that again. Curling up through the spine. And lifting one leg, or taking those little bottom pulses. Lovely. Now, as you allow yourself to lengthen the arms up towards the sky, I'm going to think about taking those arm circles. We can slide the right leg away from us as we circle the arm away. Draw the leg back in as we complete the circle. Change to the other leg. Left leg extends away as we open the arms, and as we complete the circle, the left leg draws back in, taking that little abdominal curl up. Breathing in as we float back down, and again we press into the lower back, curling up through the shoulder bridge. Lifting one leg, extending. Now if you fancy it, you take a little circle with this leg, a little circle, keeping the hips really nice and stable and still. Changing over to the other side, opposite leg circles. And floating that foot down, reaching the arms up for the sky or over the head, wherever that challenge is for you. We float all the way down, and then as we bring the arms back towards the sky, make sure those shoulders are really nicely planted. Circle the arms, slide one leg away, complete the arm circle, draw the leg back in, and then change to the opposite side. And then bring the arms back by your side, take that little abdominal curl up. Now, if you fancy an extra little moment here, just allow yourself to make sure you return back to neutral, and you're just going to allow the foot to lift an inch away from the floor without wobbling your hips from side to side, and then floating down, change to the other side. Rib cage drops, strong through the core. And that's just one on each side, and then we'll come back into the shoulder bridge. Just loving the shoulder bridge today, guys. Leg lifts up. So we've either got our three little pulses where the pelvis lifts up, we can take the leg up, we can float it down, or we can take a little circle with the leg, as if you're trying to draw a little circle on the ceiling. And floating gently down. Again, the arms lift all the way up towards the sky. Again, if you start to get twinges either in your lower back or through the hamstring when you lift the feet, really do avoid it. There's no need to push yourself in that. So we allow the arms to lengthen up towards the sky. Arm circles, leg slides away. And then we change over to the other leg. And then we float the arms back down, take that little abdominal curl up. And then without wobbling the hips, returning back to neutral, we've got one foot just lifted an inch away from the floor and floating back down, and then we change over to the other side, opposite foot lifts just an inch away from the floor and floats back down. Lovely. That whole sequence for me just once more. Lower back presses into the ground and we peel the spine away. Knees, hips and shoulders come into line with one another. One leg lifts up for the sky and floating that leg down, or taking the leg circle and then changing over to the other side. And as the arms come back back up to the sky, taking those little arm circles, slide the leg away from you, shoulders stay really grounded. And then taking that little abdominal curl up. So we're going to stay here with our little millimetre foot lifts. So we've got the pelvis nice and still, we've got our neutral spine, we're taking a little foot lift and we lower, little foot lift and lower. So you're just lifting an inch or so away. Take a moment to check that you're not shifting your pelvis from side to side. That's staying really nice and still. Rib cage is softly resting into the floor, and you've got that nice sense of connection through those core muscles. So with that neutral spine position staying in place, this time we allow the right foot to lift. We'll allow the knee to come to hover above the hip socket, bringing the calf to that 90-degree angle. Take a deep breath for me here. As you breathe out, let's stretch the leg away from us, gliding the leg away. Breathe in as the leg returns, and then allow that knee to just open out to the side. And drawing the leg back in. We'll do four more like that. So hips stay nice and still. Feel that the connection between your ribs and your hips stay the same all the way through. The knee opens out to the side. Knee draws back in. Good. We've got 3 more like that. Last one. And then we'll change over to the opposite side. So allowing that knee to lift, squeeze in through the core muscles, stretch the leg away from you, breathing in as the leg returns, and then that knee opens out to the side. Drawing the leg back in, and again we stretch away. Breath in as the leg returns, and let the knee open out to the side. Rib cage sinks down into the ground. Nice sense of connection through the core muscles. Lovely. Last one. And bring that left knee in and give it a good hug. And then we'll slide the right leg away from us. Now, with that sense of real length and release in the right leg as it's released away from us, let's just gently allow that knee to come across the line of the body and then gently out to the side. So we'll give it a little bit of a release into the hip, feeling as though that thigh bone is really able to just rock around in the hip socket. Lovely. And then let's bring that leg into the centre and draw the other leg in. Give that one a good hug. And then stretch the left leg away from you. Sliding that leg away. Nice squeeze in the tummy. We'll allow that knee to come gently across us. And then gently out to the side. And gently across and out to the side. And if it feels tighter in any of these extremes, just see if you can give those areas some extra breath, some extra time. And then as you bring that right knee in, let's bring the left knee in also. We'll have a little explore here of our 2-legged tundra position. So we've got the knees tightly hugged in. We've got the back pressing into the floor. We've lost our neutral spine here. I want you to take a moment to really check into those core muscles here. It's a funny old position to be thinking about your core muscles. So you really feel a sense of connection, drawing in through the pelvic floor. a sense that the belly button has to work quite hard to try to draw down towards the spine here. So we take a nice deep breath, and let's see if we can take the hands away and leave the legs where they are. Fabulous. Hands are resting down by our sides, shoulders are gliding down. Let's allow the neck to feel as though it's really nice and long. We're scooping in through the tummy and we're staying nice and stable. Now let's have a little play around with whereabouts the legs can go to find a challenge point. So it might be that we can get the knees to move a little bit further away from us. I'm going to aim for a place where my knees are over my hip sockets and my calf are at a 90-degree angle. So that's our modified 100 position. For some of us that will be too much of a challenge and we'll start to feel a strain in the lower back. If you find there's a strain in the lower back once you get to this position, just draw the knees in slightly more. Bring the knees in slightly closer to you to make that feel more manageable. And if you think this is just not working, my back is not happy here, my tummy's doming upwards, then work with one leg lifted instead of two. So we're breathing nice and deeply. We'll take a nice breath and let's allow the right toe to dip down as if we were testing the temperature of some water. And then we'll breathe in as the leg lifts up. If we're working with 2 legs lifted, we're going to change legs each time. If you've now got 1 leg lifted, do 5 on that first side and then change over to the other side. You've got that sense of really pulling in through those core muscles, and the rib cage stays sinking down into the floor. Pelvis stays still in whichever version you're working with, 1-legged or 2-legged. Good, we've got 1 more on each side. And then once again, bring those knees in towards the chest, give them a little hug. Now let the left foot rest down onto the floor. We're going to lengthen the right leg up towards the sky, holding on around the back of the thigh. If you've got a band, now's your chance to grab hold of it, wrap it around your foot. We let the shoulders glide down into the ground. And once we're there, we'll let the head just release down. Yeah, if you want to pop a cushion under your head, you can do. Allow the head to gently roll from side to side. Just checking that we're feeling really relaxed through the neck. Now, as we're here, we might find that after a few breaths, this leg starts to lengthen a little more, so we can get a sense of the knee not needing to bend anymore. You may find that it starts to give a little more, and then the leg can ease slightly closer towards you. And once you get there, just take a moment to feel as though the tailbone is stretching away from you. And just that sense of stretching your tailbone away will intensify the length in the hamstring. Beautiful. Let's take that right foot across the left knee. And we'll let the right knee fall open to the side. So we've made a triangular shape with our legs here. We're going to weave our hands around the left thigh, the one that's got the foot on the floor, and we'll ease those legs in close to us. And again, if you find it difficult to do this, you can wrap a band around the leg, or or a scarf or a towel or something like that, and that'll allow you to ease that in, hopefully a bit easier. Otherwise, you can rest this foot that's lifted, you can rest that on a wall, and then you don't need to worry about what the upper body's doing. One more breath as it eases in a bit closer towards us. And then we'll release, change over to the other side. Lengthening that left leg up towards the sky. And again, finding that sense of being really nice and weighty with the pelvis. So the pelvis is really dropping down into the floor, and we're just allowing that leg, the thigh bone, to find a sense of movement. And maybe with each breath we'll find a little bit more length in that knee, so it doesn't need to fully, so that it can fully lengthen, doesn't need to bend anymore. Maybe we'll find that over time the leg eases that bit closer towards us. And seeing if we can ask any tension to just switch off. And allowing that left foot to come across the right knee. Let the left knee fall open to the side. And then we're weaving the hands around that right thigh and easing the leg in close to us. Good, nice and gentle with the breath. And last breath as the leg eases that bit closer towards us, and then releasing down. So we're going to take our rolling like a ball. If you know rolling like a ball is no good for you, by all means take your time to gently come up to sitting. Otherwise, draw the hands in towards the shins, tuck the chin towards the knees, and we're going to build some momentum to see if we can rock ourselves up to sitting. And when you're there, just taking 3 little rocks back, head and neck stay away from the floor. If you're thinking, that's not for me, come up to a little stretch with the diamond-shaped legs. Last one. So let's all of us find that diamond shape, and we'll allow the toes to hover just an inch away from the floor. And we'll lengthen nice and tall. If being in this position causes any discomfort through the back, then you can place the toes back down and take a stretch. Otherwise, the right leg stretches out and away. We draw that leg back in, changing over to the other side, lengthening the leg away. Drawing the leg back in, hold it for me there. Let's go with both legs. You know where we're going. Yeah, nice. Lengthen through the chest, lift, lift, lift. One more breath. And floating down. Nice one, well done guys. So let's allow ourselves to come round to a crouch position, and we'll tuck the toes under from there. And gently rocking forwards and back. And then we're going to allow ourselves to press our heels into the ground. Let the head be heavy, and we'll roll gently up through the spine. And as the head comes on top, we'll allow ourselves to find that nice standing posture. Press into the whole of the foot for me. Allow yourself to lengthen really tall through the spine. Feel that the top of the head is floating up towards the space above you. Lifting the shoulders, roll the shoulders back and down. Take a nice deep breath, reaching really tall. Breathing out, and we'll let it all go. Give it a good shake out. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done, guys.